Yeah, a big part of the reason why the Brewers are 14 games of the 500 mark is because of Pat Murphy. We're getting to know this guy a little bit more and more. He's winning baseball games. That story next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How you doing, everybody? Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin and proud host of Locked On Brewers, my favorite sports team here in the state of Wisconsin. Good to have you along. Talking about Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy, we're getting to know bit by bit about this guy and how he is as a manager. It was an underwhelming move when the Brewers decided to move with Pat Murphy. Nothing against Murph, but when they hired him as the bench coach, he's been alongside Craig Counsell since 2016. And we haven't really known a heck of a lot about him. Mark Antanasio, the Brewers owner, admitted he did not know. His relationship with Murphy was kind of on the surface. It was kind of, joking around and all that. He says now it's a little different, but he came in for the interview, and Murphy said in an interview recently with Yahoo Sports that, yeah, I this job, most jobs that I've gone after, I really went full boat. I wanted that job. He said this one, I just took a kind of a maybe like a lackadaisical attitude toward getting this job. And whatever he did during that job interview, the Brewers absolutely fell in love with. And they said, this is our guy right here. But obviously, the Brewers had a fallback plan with Ricky Weeks. And they named Ricky Weeks as the bench coach. So I think the Brewers' plan on this all along was, all right, we'll have Pat Murphy, this veteran teacher, this guy who's been around coaching college baseball, been in the major league game for a little bit now, but a guy who's been around baseball all his life. Let's have him be the manager of the team. And with Ricky Weeks, we'll have him kind of right next to him as his bench coach. And Ricky can learn everything there needs to be known about being a manager from Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy's going to teach this guy. I think Pat Murphy had other ideas, though, that he was just not going to tutor Ricky Weeks on this job, but he was going to take the job and show that he could indeed manage it. He had the job, and he was indeed going to show that, hey, man, I'm going to do a good job here. I'm the manager of this baseball team. Okay, nothing against Ricky Weeks. I think that's the attitude that Murphy took. He was gonna do a good job here. This was his opportunity at the age of 65, given the keys to the kingdom right here. All those years in Major League Baseball, and he's made the most of it. I think my worry was, and I said this on podcasts throughout the offseason, that if the Brewers get off to a slow start, if they get off to a mediocre start, if things didn't quite go their way, okay, let's say they were floundering around the 500 mark, that fans would be calling for Ricky Weeks to be named manager. Here's Ricky right there at the footsteps. Hey, let's name Ricky. Let's put him into that job right away. I think that was, and would have been an easy choice. Ricky's there, but the more that the Brewers organization got to know Murphy through spring training, the offseason, Mark Antanasio and his conversations, the more they realized, this is our guy right here. And Murphy has gone on and done a just amazing job. Like I said, not only manager of the year in the National League, but this guy's the manager of the year in baseball. And if you follow the Brewers, how is this team in first place? From losing Devin Williams, not having Brandon Woodruff, trading Corbin Burns. You're without two aces to start the season. Okay? And your bullpen, your closer, your all-star closer. One injury after another. All these guys in the starting rotation that have gone down. Yet, the Brewers, here they are, sitting in first place with a, 5.5 game lead on St. Louis in the division. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I think the Brewers are the best team in baseball, best team in the National League Central, one of the best teams in baseball, but that remains to be seen. But I know this, Murphy is the man for this job. Murphy will get his players to run through a wall. The players love him. They love playing for him. They know where they stand with him. And this is no knock on Craig Keuchel whatsoever. Maybe all along, Murphy should have been the guy running this team. Maybe that's it. Maybe the Cubs should have gone after Pat Murphy. They got Craig Keuchel, they're 5-6 games under the 500 mark in last place in the division. Do you think the Cubs looking at it and, you know what, maybe we made the wrong choice. Maybe we should have taken the assistant coach there. Maybe we should have taken Pat Murphy. Look at this guy. Look what Murphy's doing with that team. Losing 4/5 of their starting rotation, one guy after another, even like a guy like Rhys Hoskins going down. Murphy said it in spring training. He said this like Tuesday night. In spring training, he didn't know who his third baseman was going to be. He had no idea it was going to be Ortiz that was going to win that job. So, I mean, you look at one thing after another that Murphy had stacked against him where he was not going to be the manager for long. He was not on purpose, but he was set up for failure for this job. Not on purpose was he set up for failure, but he was set up for failure. All indications had the Milwaukee Brewers finishing the lower half of the NL Central. I had people on our Locked On preview. We had everybody from the division on a podcast, and everybody picked the Brewers to finish in last place. I was on national shows. Okay. I've been on stage shows. Hosts have told me before the season, the Milwaukee Brewers were going to finish in last place. And I even said, yes, if the Brewers got the slow start, I do not want, let's be patient with Murphy. Let's not quick to say, hey, let's move on to Ricky Weeks, our next manager. I did not want to see that. But this Yahoo article that came out, this really a first article that really went in depth with this guy. We learned that he was an amateur boxer in his time. I don't know what that has to do with Major League Baseball, but that he was an amateur boxer, decided to go the route of baseball. All right. Ended up being a coach, a college coach, and a very good one as well. Says he didn't even really try all that hard for the Brewers job. And here he is, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, and just doing a great job. Funny things this guy does. He says that he texted Dallas Keuchel, some sort of like a regular job introduction. Hey, Dallas, welcome to our team. We're glad to have you aboard here, and this is what we think you can do. And he texted to Dallas. Dallas said he never got the text. Now, Murphy is BSing us on that, or maybe he had the wrong phone number for Dallas Keuchel. In any case, Murphy likes to keep it light. Right now, he is good for this team. He is. Now, who knows what long-term it's going to be with Murphy, but right now he's got the pulse of this team, and he knows the right direction for this team. Okay. I've said all along, there's very few managers in baseball history that I feel have been difference makers on teams. And I'm not saying Murphy's in this category by any means. I'm just saying guys who I think are difference makers. Two off the top of my head, let's say from the 70s on, I would say Sparky Anderson, who managed the Reds and the Tigers. I feel that guy was always a winner wherever he went. He made bad teams good. And Tony La Russa. I think Tony La Russa is another guy, whether we like him a lot, and I know we don't like him as Brewer fans because of, manager of the Cardinals, and we don't have to go down that road, but we know that. But I think those guys were just two difference makers. Okay. And Murphy right now is a difference maker right now on this team. I just feel like this team is so cohesive. They're winning with guys who should not even be on the major league level right now. Murphy's comment, I love it. He told Yahoo this. He goes, I'm really starting to love it. Murphy said recently of the job, I don't think I have all the answers, but I just love watching these guys believe, watching guys come into their own. See guys like Bryce Turang walk to the plate with confidence. It chokes me up. We're almost to the halfway point of the season. We haven't done anything yet, but I love this team. I know we're supposed to suck. Yeah, that's what he said. I know we're supposed to suck, but we've proven we don't suck. So I hope they know what makes them great. What makes them great is who they are and how they go about it. There's our manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, Pat Murphy. Hats off. Again, we don't know how this is going to end, in the playoffs or whatever, or what moves the Brewers are going to make going forward. But I'll say this, man, he's come in and exceeded all our expectations, and has led the Brewers to another win, a second straight one over the Texas Rangers. We're going to get to that win coming up here in a little bit. But earlier in the day, the Brewers made a move, trading cash, setting some cash for Dallas Keuchel, who's been in Major League Baseball, 36 years old, one-time Cy Young Award winner with the Astros in 2015, just trying to hang on in his career. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. eBay Motors, one of our great sponsors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. The guy down the street swears by it. eBay Motors. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home a huge win after win. Keep your ride or die alive. ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. You businessmen out there, are you struggling to close deals? B2P selling is becoming tougher than ever, and that's why I'm going to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can go and find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform. We're all on LinkedIn. Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. So right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Get a 60-day free trial. LinkedIn.com/lockedon. LinkedIn.com/lockedon. 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like the superstar you are. Just go to LinkedIn.com/lockedon to get started today. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. All right, the first thing I thought when the news was broken by Ken Rosenthal on Tuesday afternoon that the Brewers had traded for Dallas Keuchel. Number one, I didn't know Dallas Keuchel was still a major league pitcher. Well, he wasn't. He was in the Seattle farm system, pitching in the Pacific Coast League. Okay. I didn't know Dallas Keuchel was hanging around. Now, he signed that deal with the White Sox a few years ago, 3 years and $55 million in 2019. That didn't quite work out for him. He had some back issues. By the end of it, he was DFA'd, and he's bounced around from team to team to team. Yeah, he was great with the Houston Astros. He had some really good years. A left-handed pitcher. Last pitched with Minnesota last season, and then signed with Seattle, a minor league contract in the offseason. And then they dumped him in mid-May, and then they re-signed him again a couple of days later to a minor league deal, which I didn't quite understand. And then they traded him to the Brewers. Now, first of all, like I said, what was my first indication about Dallas Keuchel? My first one was, Dallas Keuchel still pitching? That was my first indication. He's 36 years old. My second was, this is just the kind of Milwaukee Brewers move. And you know what? It is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. But this hopefully won't be the only move the Milwaukee Brewers make. But you all know that, okay, if we could joke about this for just a bit, this is the typical Milwaukee Brewers move. While everybody's going out and getting the Jack Flahertys of the world and targeting those kind of guys, or the Tyler Andersons, we're going up after Dallas Keuchel, who's, let's face it, who has seen better days, okay? But this is another guy. When I go on talk shows, when you guys tweet at me and ask me, are the Brewers going to make any moves? Are they going to make any moves? I said, well, don't be surprised if they make a move like they did last year when they got Carlos Santana, an aging player where they don't have to give up much. They might have to give some cash up. In this case, it's Dallas Keuchel, who the Brewers hope can come in, suck up some innings. They can find a few things. He had a little bit of success in the Pacific Coast League. He was in the Brewers locker room on Tuesday night. But this is it. This is not the end of the Brewers making moves. I think this is just one of these minor low-level moves. Let's cross our fingers that this isn't the only move they make. But I think this is a guy who they're going to put in and give up some innings. I told you, they're looking for a fifth starter. I don't see Rodriguez being the guy. And maybe on July 2nd, the next time they need a fifth starter, this is the guy. He'll get some work out of the bullpen, possibly. He's been a starter most of his career. We'll see what they do. But he's a guy here who's going to come here and eat up some innings. And hopefully in the process, not give up some leads or give up some games or cost them some games. That's my only worry when we sign a guy like this. If we put too much trust at a guy like this, we've done this before, where we put too much trust at a guy like this, and he ends up costing us some games. So, yeah, didn't have to give up a lot. We'll just wait and see how it works out. Okay. With Chris Hook, hey, he's done a few magic tricks so far. Let's face it. And maybe with Dallas Keuchel, he could find a few things here, and the Brewers can get some innings out of it. I'm not going to be totally pessimistic and crap on this move just yet. Okay. Yeah. Did I laugh and think this is a typical Milwaukee Brewers move? Of course we did. If you're a Brewer fan, you did. You know you did. And if you're gonna come at me on Twitter and think I'm being negative about this, you Brewer fan out there thought the same way I did. Oh yeah, here we go. This is a typical Brewer move. Cash considerations for a one-time Cy Young Award winner. Yeah, if this move was done 8 years ago, we'd love it. But right now, you got to kind of scratch your head and say, how does he fit in? What's he going to do? Is he going to produce for this team? We'll find out. Now, Keuchel said in the locker room on Tuesday night, he said, well, I always looked at the Brewers as being a fun organization. A Brewers a fun organization, laid back organization, kind of like backyard baseball. Would have been nice a few years ago when he was a free agent. Well, before the White Sox signed him, 3 years, $55 million, that, he thought maybe the Brewers were a good place to come to. I feel like all these guys, when they're, toward the end of their career, they always say about the Milwaukee Brewers, oh yeah, what a fun team that looks to be with. Those guys look like they have a good time. I want to come there and be part of that. We've had veterans come through the clubhouse, and I've heard that song and dance before. Just looking for a job. Keuchel, hey, when he talked about, this is one of the teams I targeted. I'm telling you, the guy, he was looking for a job. He would have gone anywhere. And maybe so. The Milwaukee Brewers were a place. Yeah, why wouldn't you want to go to a first place team? First place team that's got a 5.5 game lead and a chance to, keep your career going. So if you're Dallas Keuchel, I guess, yeah, why not the Milwaukee Brewers? The Milwaukee Brewers right now offer opportunity to not only be a part of a first place team, but man, to come in and have some success. Tobias Myers has taken advantage of opportunity. Colin Ray has taken advantage of an opportunity. Bryce Wilson has taken advantage of an opportunity. Many guys have taken advantage of opportunities on this pitching staff. Brian Hudson has taken advantage of opportunity. Okay. Jared Canning has taken advantage of opportunity. Dallas Keuchel, you have an opportunity to come here and produce and be a part of this team. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. All right, we'll get to the Brewers win, another win over the Texas Rangers. We'll talk about a few things on that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Good to have you along here on a Wednesday. Brewers have an afternoon game on Wednesday afternoon. Getaway day for the Rangers, and it's a 1:10 start. You get the game on Sirius XM, the XXM app. Search Brewers. You get all 162 of Brewers baseball on Sirius XM. All right. Here on Locked On Brewers, I'm giving you all the news, whether it's off season or whatever, with the Milwaukee Brewers. It's year round. You know what else is year round? Collection season. That never ends. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank account, even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Over 14 years of experience, an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, you got complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay and you're going to need a couple of tax forms to file that, call 1-800-549-1000. Visit tnausa.com/lockdown. See the link in the episode description below. Also, PrizePicks, another great sponsor with us right here on Locked On Brewers. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. Easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on all the daily action with your friends. Become part of PrizePicks community today. You can win 100 times your money with PrizePicks. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. But you got to download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That first deposit match will be $100, but you got to use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. PrizePicks. Download the app today. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. Wherever you download your podcast, get Locked On Brewers. Please hit the subscribe button on that. And, of course, hit me up on YouTube, our growing YouTube page. YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. And, of course, on Twitter, hit me up, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. All right, Bryce Wilson. I talk about taking advantage of an opportunity. Bryce Wilson, after Hobie Milner goes 2 innings as the opener, Bryce goes 6 innings. There was some thought about keeping him in for the 9th inning. He would have gone 7 innings. He was great. 6 innings on 3 hits. Bryce Wilson, just amazing. Just part of that starting rotation that just continues to do wonders. 31,000 fans come out on a Tuesday night in June. Haven't won a World Series. That just kind of stands out to me. 31,000 on a Tuesday night. But Bryce Wilson, back to that. Bryce Wilson, just fantastic. Once again, leaving it to the bullpen in the 9th inning. There were a couple guys down in the bullpen on Tuesday night. Trevor McGill was not available to close it out. He closed out pitched the last 2 games. So who'd they call on? Brewer. And I got to admit, man, I was a little nervous going into the top of the 9th inning. Brewers had themselves a 3-1 lead. I was a little worried. I thought, oh boy, Brewer, how's he going to be? And he hit a batter in that inning after having the count 0-2 on a 1-2 pitch. He hit a batter in the foot. He eventually got out of the inning unscathed, got the save, and the Brewers got the win. Big win for the Brewers. And with that win, that's the 8th straight series they have won at home. 8 straight series they have won at home. Can you believe that? 8 in a row. The winning just continues. They clinched that no matter what happens with their game against the Rangers on Wednesday afternoon, they have clinched another series, 8 in a row. But yeah, McGill should be available to close the game if they need him on Wednesday night. So the Rangers come in here having won 4 in a row. The Brewers have beat them the first 2 games of the series, and looking for another win coming up on Wednesday. And again, that game is going to be at 1:10 went in to get it on Sirius XM, the XXM app, search Brewers, and you're going to get all 162 of Brewers baseball. Brewers have not named their starter. I was just checking real quick to see if they named their starter. Murph was asked after the game, who's going to start on Wednesday? I mean, he probably knows. Come on. You think he's going to go home and show up at the ballpark? Oh, this guy's going to pitch. No, Murphy's knows who's going to pitch in that game. He's just not going to tell us. That's just part of his gimmick. That's part of his gimmick. Not going to tell us. Hey, whatever he's doing as a gimmick is working. The Brewers continue to lead this division. And you know what? After losing 3 of 4 against San Diego, against the defending World Series champs, the Brewers have taken 2 in a row and go for the sweep on Wednesday. And then the Cubs coming up here this weekend. Hey, man, thanks a lot for joining me on Locked On Brewers. I always appreciate you. I appreciate a great you Brewer fans made this the #1 podcast, Brewer podcast on the internet. I really appreciate you downloading us, Google, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Hit me up on YouTube, Locked On Brewers, and of course, our growing YouTube page, Locked On Brewers, and my Twitter account, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. We'll be back on Wednesday night talking Brewers baseball with you. Hopefully, a sweep of the Texas Rangers. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a good Wednesday, everybody.